Hey screen printers, this is Darryl. We're back in the dark room here. I'm going to show you guys how I did the Oni print and how I registered it up on screens. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to line this up just using the reference points on the template. We are just going to do the center line, so we're not going to worry about the other registrations. That is on press. So center line and centered. Go. We're going to tape that into position so it doesn't move. And then going to take our screen, and I'm just using 2 reference points, one along the side here, and then just the straight line across the bottom. It'll probably be beneficial for you guys to have like an L bracket mounted to the table or whatever you're using, and you can use a whiteboard, piece of wood, painted white, just anything, just give yourself that contrast. Main is just be able to see the image through the emulsion. Next, we're going to take a piece of tape. We're going to fold over one end. We're just going to tape over our registration marks. Fold over and tape. We're going to take our pen, carefully trace out as accurately as possible. The finer the pen, the better. And then at the top, we're just going to draw like a little carrot. And then we're going to repeat process using the same film. So lining up around straight on the bottom, going to my reference points here on the side. Make sure that we're straight. Tape, fold. Fold. I'm going to draw. And our little carrot. And the bottom. And again, repeat. One more time. The little fold just makes it easier to remove later. Oh, I forgot my carrot. Just a little marker. All right, once we have that, what we can do is actually just take our screen and flip it the other way. We take our film, lay it right across the top, and just line up those 2 registration marks. Once you have them lined up, and again, you don't have to be 100% accurate on this, but the closer you are, the better it is later. And as I was taping, I moved it. Tape in place, move to the next one. And see, this is why we put the carrot, because as you can see, I put this one upside down. And if I didn't have the carrot, I would most likely have mounted the screen upside down, or my image upside down. So you can flip this around, or you can just turn your artwork around. tape. And tape. So yeah, you guys, you just repeat this process for all your screens. Make sure your film doesn't have any red specks in it. This way, all your images land in relatively the same spot, so we don't have one screen that sits super high, one sits super low. They all line up to each other. Makes it easier for registration on press. All right guys, now that we have that all registered, showed you my wizard magic, we're gonna take this to the exposure unit, then rinse these out, then we'll put them on press and get these all registered up, all right? All right, screen printers, I got the starter press here ready to go. As you can see, I already have a center line, but let's show you guys how I achieve that. Using a T-square or a ruler of some sort, we're just measuring the full length, which is just under 14 inches. So I'm gonna put it just about 7, and I'm gonna measure on the other side, just about 7 as well. And I would usually do this in 3 spots to give myself a nice straight line that I can then measure all 3 across and draw my center line. Now, this is already done for me, but that's how I would do it. And then as far as my platen line goes, usually about 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch, somewhere in between there. Here we have 7/8. I have the cross line, so that'll just be right there. And that's where I'm gonna place my registration mark. I'm just gonna darken it a little bit. That's how we get that set up. We're gonna take our clamp head and we're gonna mount it into the press. Make sure that it's fully seated in the down, all the way down. We're gonna take our screen. We're just gonna go off our registration marks here. And we're just gonna line the top and bottom ones centered. Once we have them lined up, we're gonna clamp it in place while we hold it. We're gonna lift up, make sure everything's tight, bring it back down. We're gonna look at where we have it registered. I'm actually gonna move that a little bit. We have a little movement. I bumped it. Let's try that one more time. There we go. Right where I want it to be. Now that this one is in place, I'm going to line up the remaining 8 or 7. I'm going to line up the remaining 7, and then we'll start putting ink in these. So key tips, the thinner your registration marks are, and the thinner your line is on your platen, the more accurate you're gonna be with your registration. A big chunky line leaves a lot of room for roaming, especially if you have a big Sharpie marker on your platen and then you're using a Japanese style or even a Roman style registration mark, or even just like a point registration mark as far as the size goes, using points. You're gonna have a lot of room for error. With tight registration or small thin lines, there's less room for that type of error. So when you get it on press, you will be able to see that movement a lot more. When it comes to tightening, so I'll show you guys here. Let me loosen that up, get this aligned. So when you tighten these, you do have movement in your screen. Your screen is going to want to move up to lock in with the bar. So I'm trying to compensate for that movement. So you'll see me loosen, readjust, because I'm trying to see how the screen is going to move, because no two screens are exactly the same. We'd like to hope that a flat bar is a flat bar, but I put a screen down on a flat surface and you'll be surprised how flat it is. So as I'm doing this, you'll see me move, loosen, tighten, go back, tighten the other side, because as I tighten one side, it's going to pull the screen that direction a little bit. So I want to go back, move it, tighten the other sides so that it doesn't pull in the other direction, but more so stabilize it. So when I fully tighten the screen in place, it holds where I want it to be. So you can bump a screen. So if, let's say I want to move the screen up forward, I would just take my hand here and I would just give it a little tap. But when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you are loose but not too loose. It works better if you are doing it left and right rather than forward and backwards. But yeah, you can bump a screen. It's one of those things that practice makes perfect. Go. And you'll probably see once we get ink in these, we'll readjust them again. This is just pre-registration. Just getting this lined up, taking our time to make sure that we're close. This is also where like micros come in. If you have micros, which we don't here, micros, you do all that pre-press and then you can make those minute adjustments with micros. Since we don't have micros, I'm still gonna do all the pre-press work of lining it up by eye to my one registration mark and the center line. And then we'll print one of the main, like either the underbase or the black screen, and then make our minute adjustments with the colors afterwards. But I kind of just want them all to be close to registration or in register when I put that first color down. Now some people might say that's a waste of time, but you know what? We all have our methods to our madness, and this is mine, and it works. There's that knock. One side, the other, then back and forth. Final tighten, double check our work, good to go. There's that knock for you. tie in, and there we go. Now, we actually can leave this screen in. We can put a garment down and get to printing. Let's get all the registration marks taped up, and then yeah, see how this print lines up and make our adjustments. So, like I said before, we need to make some minor adjustments. Oh, you guys want me to pull. So one, I can actually show it on this one here. One real good pro tip is trapping. You will see the screen artwork, but then you'll see a thin black outline that overlaps all the red. So when I go back and print the black at the end here, it'll lock everything in. You can see the rig, I'll lift this up so you can see the actual screen artwork. Then as I put this down, the black actually has a little bit of overlay that traps that artwork in. So even if I'm a little bit off, it still looks good in the end. Now, to answer some of you guys' questions I saw in the comments about the differences in my flash times. Different parts of this artwork are different sizes, so they don't require as much of a flash. So like the little purple that's in the design, only gonna take a few seconds versus the white underbase, all the brown, or even the red on the garment. So that'll address the difference in my flash times. right, that's the last color there, and it looks great. Let's see, I'm happy with that. So as this is flashing, I just want to emphasize that I use trapping in all my artwork. And so with that, I aligned my artwork to the black, lined all the colors, got everything, and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like before I print the black over top of the colors to really bring out the resolution of the art. Nice and flashed. If you want to take a look at it, see a lot of the details are hiding where there's black underlying the artwork. I'm going to push it for the trolls. And then there you go with that black trap. There you have it, screen printers. If you'd like to see more of this print, be sure to check out the video here. Also, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Darryl the Wizard, and that's a wrap.